everyone, it's Sharonda from Pair Weeks, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Handmaid's Tale, Season 5, Episode 2, Ballet, alright? And this week's episode, actually the first two episodes, they're both directed by Elizabeth Moss. Why am I acting like this week's episode, like I'm not late putting this video up? But let's go ahead and get into the episode. We hear that song again that we heard in the Season 5 premiere, that All I Do Is Dream, as June is having these flashbacks, but this time she's having her flashbacks to her time in Gilead and all of the things that has happened to her. And so she immediately gets out of bed and she goes to the car and she pulls the gun that she got from Vicky, who can't shoot nothing. And the other woman, she took the gun and she actually buried it. And to me, I kind of took that like, is this the sign that June is actually going to try to move forward? And we kind of see this like inner turmoil because of the murder that she has committed. June is now changed forever. And she's trying to, like, it's this toggle between her vendetta of vengeance and her trying to live a normal life with Luke, with Moira, and with Nicole. And so we kind of see this back and forth in the episode till we get to the end of the episode, where it is clear that there is no turning back for June, as Serena ends up declaring war against the both of them at the end of this week's episode. So we see that Serena has now returned to Gilead. We saw her little speech that she gave at the end of episode 1, talking about the water of her name means something. I'm going to take my husband home. So she goes to Gilead, and you can tell that she's a little scared. Like, she doesn't necessarily understand how people are going to receive her. What's going to happen? Is she going to be safe? Because she's also returning back to the people who let Fred get murdered, who delivered Fred into June's hands. And so there's an interesting conversation because if Serena going anywhere, Mr. Tuello, like he said, I'm going to be by your side every step of the way. And I was like, like the way that you're so thirsty, I just don't understand the level of thirstiness that you have for Serena, especially knowing Serena's crimes. I don't even understand how you... I said, I'm not going to let Mr. Tuello get me upset this episode. I'm not going to let him do it. He will not get me upset again. So he's with her and he says, I'm going to be with you every step of the way. And she was like, just like you were with Fred. And I was like, oh, get her, Jade. Okay, because she didn't tell no lies to him. But when she gets off of the plane, she sees that Nick and Commander Lawrence, and I know Nick is the commander, but I'm never going to just be like commander because he's just going to be Nick to me. But Nick and Commander Lawrence, they're waiting for her. Once she arrives, and then he was like, I figure we'll pull out the bells and whistles for you. And I'm just like, the level of pettiness that Commander Lawrence always has, I'm always here for it. So excited to see him on the screen at all times. And then when he says, when Commander Lawrence said, we will never leave our brother out in the cold, I said, but sir, isn't that what you did? Didn't you literally leave Fred out in the cold in no man's land so these women could literally rip him apart? I was just like, the nerve, the audacity of Commander Lawrence, but the pettiness still rings true every single time. But when she gave shade to Nick, like, oh, Nick, it's so nice to see the blessings that the Lord has given you, okay? I remember that Commander Waterford saw you as a father figure, because they were like, Beast, you was the help for us, but I see now that my husband is out of the way because of your raggedy little baby mama, that now you all up here, you in a position of power now, okay? She didn't say all of that, but I'm just saying that's what she was basically thinking when she, graciously gave shade and a shady compliment to Nick. So they have a conversation because she's like, hey, can you take me to the church where they're going to have this funeral for Fraggedy? And then when we got to the church, I said, this small church, what are we doing? This the church? I said, who coming? Just y'all three? Oh, of course, Mr. Tuello too. Y'all four, that's the only people that's coming to this funeral. What is happening right now? And I did love that line when he was like, well, I thought you were going to try to get back to Canada, maybe catch a hockey game. And she was like, I don't know that much about hockey. He was like, oh, you will enjoy it. It's elegant but brutal. I said, that was a fair assessment of Serena, okay? But still, I was just like, we're really going to do this back and forth. I love the writing, the banter that they have. It's like the things that are unsaid. Like, you got to read between the lines of what everyone's really trying to say. I missed this a lot. I missed it a lot. But we see that, basically Serena's like, hey, you know what? Since you being shady, let me be shady right back. Let me tell you this. Come a little closer. She didn't say that, but she was like, it would be a shame if people found out what really happened to my husband. That to see that commanders really made a plan with a handmaid to murder one of their own. Like, do you think the people would be okay with that? Do you think the girls would want to hear that? How do you think the girls would react if I told them something like that? So let me tell you what we finna do. You finna go back to the drawing board, use that resourcefulness that you have, probably that resourcefulness that you used to get my husband murdered, and then you're gonna figure out how we can give my husband the funeral that he deserves. Now, she didn't say all of it like that, but that's basically what she was saying. But I was like, yes, because y'all know this church was disrespectful. Like, y'all could at least found a bigger community center, like the recreation center. So, like, something a little bit bigger than this little bitty church. So, we see that it cuts to Lydia, who is like, if any, I call everybody delusional on this show, but Aunt Lydia is literally the leader of like being delusional. Cause the way that, who uses a funeral to get the handmaids to impress the commander so they can find a posting? Like these speeches that she be giving, I'd be like, Lydia, you don't get tired of lying to these handmaids? You don't get tired of lying every single season? You be lying to these girls, okay? You be lying to them. That's why Esther had enough. She's had enough. Esther said, I'm going to end this cycle of violence, okay? So I really don't be understanding her, because who uses a funeral to really pimp women out to like get a posting? I just don't understand. So Esther is there, and she was like, clearly she still don't give a flying you know what about any of this that's going on. Janine's trying to like kind of keep her in place, like, girl, you're gonna get us in trouble. You can't be saying all of this, like chill out for a little bit. But it's Esther, like clearly we know that she's not going to chill out. But what I thought was crazy was how Lydia is using Janine to groom Esther to be a potential handmaid for the raggedy ass Putnams, given everything that the Putnams did to Janine. And the fact that Janine was okay with this, I get it. Her survival instinct, she wants to stay alive just to be able to see her kid. I get it. But still, so you gonna help groom somebody else for the people who did you dirty? And then when she said, Lydia, so if she get chosen, do you think I'll be able to go visit? And Lydia's like, nah, girl, don't get ahead of yourself. Like, I know I've been nice to you, but please, like, you're doing the most now, thinking that we're gonna let all of that happen after everything that you've done. You already saw how Mrs. Putnam was looking when Janine had came into the house in the first place. So we see that the Putnams offered for Serena to stay with them while she's there for the funeral. And so Mr. Tuello and Serena, they go to the Putnams' house and they greet her. And baby, the way Mr. Tuello thought he was going to be by Serena's side the whole time, and Mr. Putnam quickly came in and turned his ass right around like, sir, have a seat by the door, okay? This can't pass go, okay? You can't collect $200. You're gonna sit right here. You're in the same room as her. You can hear her scream if anything happens, but you're gonna sit here. I was dying laughing because he did it so smooth how he like turned Mr. Tuello right around back to that chair, like, have a seat, take a load off your feet. So we see that Commander Lawrence tells Serena, like, hey, that fancy funeral you want, it's just not going to happen, because at the end of the day, all of the good things that Commander Lawrence has done for Gilead, a lot of people basically see him as a traitor, and they can't get past that. So we kind of cut to June, who's having a game night with Moira, Luke, and Rita. And then Luke pulls out some board games, and then she sees the Scrabble game, and then she kind of has those flashbacks again because, remember the secret games of Scrabble that June was playing with Fred. And so we see that it looks like she's about to have a panic attack, and she gets up and she goes into the kitchen where she sees Rita. And June was doing the most. She was like, hey, remember that time that Serena slapped the taste out your mouth? I said, girl, how you gonna bring up somebody else's trauma? Like, what? Who does that? Like, June. And she was basically talking about, like, Serena went back to Gilead, and I hope they put her on a wall. I hope they take the baby from her and then put her on a wall. I said, now, June, this is becoming a bit obsessed. And even more, it was like, June, shut the F up. Like, girl, don't you ever just take a break. exhausting. But I know, like, if people did what they did to June, to me, I would probably be just as obsessive as her. But I also know that there's a time and a place, and I thought that it was very disrespectful to Rita, even though she's not a handmaid and she might not have been raped like June had been multiple times, that there's still abuse that Rita had to endure in her time as a Martha in the Waterfords home. And I'm happy that Rita was able to tell her, like, I'm struggling every single day. Like, I may not have been through what you've been through, but we're all going through some type of trauma right now. We're all struggling with this every single day. And I'm happy that she was able to say that to her, because I just feel like sometimes, June, like, read the freaking room. Like, you're not the only one this happened to. So we see that Esther is basically, the handmaids are introduced into the Putnam home. I promise you, everybody hates Aunt Lydia, because the way that the commanders be looking at Aunt Lydia, the way that the wives be looking at her, I was like, sis, how does it feel to, like, not only be hated by the handmaids, but the fact that everybody in Gilead basically hates you too? Like, that has to not feel good. But they introduce Esther, who's still trying to lead the revolution. She like F everybody, definitely F Gilead. She introduces her to Mrs. Putnam, and she's like, oh, she's so young. And I said, now it's a problem because she look young? It's a problem now? It's a problem because she looks young? I hate the Putnams. They really get on my nerves. So she was like, well, she used to be a wife, so, you know, she knows to obey and woo, woo, woo. And basically then she got to give the okay, like she can go meet Mr. Putnam trifling ass anyway. And I thought it was funny because I thought it was actually beautiful that Angela, Janine's daughter, just ran up to her like, she was trying to tell, Miss Putnam was trying to tell, Angela, stop. No, she was like, bitch, this is my mama. I'm finna go talk to my mama. She ran up to her. She was like, hey, and it was so cute. It was so cute, but then it was so heartbreaking when she kind of ran away. But I like that Miss Putnam gave her some respect, like, because as Janine's like, you have a beautiful daughter. Even though I was like, whatever. And she was like, you know, I pray for her every day, and even those who brought her to me. So I saw that as like some type of respect that she could muster up to give Janine, basically thanking her for giving her this child, this new gift of life. So I was like, okay, fine. So they introduced Esther to Mr. Putnam, Raggedy Behind. He is like a rat, literally a rat, just creepy, pervy. Everything about him screams, run away, run far away, okay? So Aunt Lydia introduces her, and the other commanders are in there, and he was like, hey, can you give us a second? So all the commanders leave, and then Aunt Lydia just standing there. He's like, you too, Miss Aunt Lydia. And she's looking like, I don't know what you need to be by yourself with her for. But of course, she gonna obey and listen, knowing that something was not right, this little rat in front of her. And so basically she leaves, and then he's being pervy, like trying to feed her a piece of chocolate, making these little airplane baby noise. It was just so gross. Like, you just knew something else happened, okay? So it's weird. It's funny because when SERENA had walked in, basically invited herself in to talk to the commanders to try to convince them about this funeral, the commander Putnam comes in, and even Nick did a side eye like, where you been? And what was you doing this whole time after you done told us to get out of the room? Like, even he side eyed him a little bit like, Beesh, where you coming from? So she basically tries to have a conversation with them about why it would be so important in order for them to actually do a respectable funeral, that they can prove themselves as an international power. And like Nick and actually Commander Lawrence tries to co-sign, and then Mr. Putnam is like, sir, what are you talking about? You don't even adhere to the guidelines of Gilead. Where is your wife? Where is your handmaid? And he was like, dang, ho, like, thank you for reminding me that my wife is dead, ho. That's basically what happened. They didn't call each other a hoe, but they had that hoe back and forth. I was like, now, Commander Lawrence, Commander Putnam has a point, okay? He did have a point there, but Nick also co-signed. They were trying to help her out, and they were like, okay, give us a moment, and, you know, we'll figure this out amongst ourselves. But in the meantime, Luke goes to check on June, and June is like, hey, I got to tell you something. So, about Fred. Basically, SERENA knows that I killed Fraggedy. And he was like, what? How does she know? And she was like, well, I wanted to make sure that she knew. So in order for me to do that, I sent her his finger. I I said, girl, and he like, huh? Why do you keep doing this? And I kind of understand where Luke is coming from, because he's just like, June, by you sending that to Serena, like, it's fine. I let it go. You killed him. Fine. I understand. He's a monster. Do what you do, boo. Just don't kill me in my sleep. But at the end of the day, like, you keep putting us in danger. And I think that's the thing, is like, in Gilead, June was responsible for herself. In Canada, where they're at, you're responsible for Moira, Luke, Nicole, because at the end of the day, they know that the only way that they can get to you is through your loved ones. That's how they weaponized Hannah against you in Gilead. And now that you're in Canada, they have 3 additional people that they can use to hurt you. So why do you keep putting us in harm's way with your actions? It's selfish. Like, he was like, I need you present. I need you here with me and Nicole. Like, I need you to be present in this family. I need you to stop obsessing over Serena. Good, you scared her. But, like, you don't know what she's capable of. And it's funny because Serena be like, you don't know what June is capable of. And June be like, you don't know what Serena is capable of. I know what y'all capable of. And I know y'all both crazy. And y'all would do anything. And you're vindictive. You're literally both the like same type of people on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, but you still meet in the middle with your obsessive aggression and vindictiveness, okay? So I was kind of with him for that, because I understood that has to be very frustrating. It's like, girl, I'm trying to like keep us as a family, and you keep doing everything in your power to really destroy the family with her choices from the first episode of going to kill Fred, knowing that she would probably be arrested, and then she just so happened to luckily get off. But you keep trying to break this family up now that we're finally together. So we see that afterwards, we see Serena kind of goes back to her little residence, and she's with Mr. Tuello, and she asks him for a cigarette. And I said, so you really finna smoke with this baby inside of you? And I bet not see nobody come in my comment section talking about people you smoke all the time in the 50s and 60s and nothing happened to these kids. But still, like, sis, I ain't seen you smoke a cigarette this whole time with this baby. I know you stressed, but now is not the time. I truly don't understand it. I don't know why Mr. Tuello, he just does anything that she asks him to do. It was just really crazy to me. But there's an interesting conversation that happens when we cut to the Handmaids, to Esther and Janine. And we see that Esther is having a conversation with Janine, and Janine's excited for her because she has this new posting, and Esther's kind of looking like, Beach, what are you excited? You excited for me to go get raped every month? Like, what? So she was just like, girl, if if you just get the commander to like you, he'll take a liking to you, you'll get pregnant. And then she was basically like, being pregnant is your protection. Like, you get to live life like a princess when you're pregnant. And I was just like, I mean, I understand the logic. And we saw how June tried the Waterfords every step of the way when she was going through her pregnancy with Nicole. But Esther was just like, you really think being pregnant is going to protect me? Because it's like, yeah, you're pregnant for a couple of months, but then it's back to the same old, same old. So is it really protection, or are we just pausing the torture for a while? So I think it was at that moment when we kind of see her take her hand away from Janine that Esther was over her. She was over her. She was like, she was done, okay? But back to Serena. So Commander Lawrence basically ends up coming back to let her know, hey, we got it approved. And she was like, oh, how? He was like, because, Bish, I'm a man. You're a woman. Duh. So Nick ends up meeting with Mr. Tuello as he leaves Serena and Commander Lawrence to do the funeral planning. And basically, Mr. Tuello's trying to get Nick to like provide information, to work with him, and maybe they could work out a deal so he could see Nicole. Because the first thing that he asked, like, how's Nicole doing? How's June doing? Like, he still truly cares about them. But Nick is kind of like, sir, no, it's like too late for me. Nick has always had this stance, like, it's just too late for me. I've done too much for you guys to forgive me for being a part of this society. So we go to a really nice montage because we see that Luke and June, they go on this date to the ballet. And then we see this montage of June preparing for her date. We see her actually putting on clothes, and she has this beautiful white dress. And then we see Serena raggedy devilish behind as the devil, basically getting ready, dressed in black for the funeral. And so they kind of going back and forth, and we're hearing this beautiful, I believe it was the Sleeping Beauty. It was Sleeping Beauty Act 1, The Spell. And I love the significance of that because it's almost as if Serena's putting the spell on the world as she is now in this position of power. As you see these beautiful scenes of, you see how she's kind of like puts her hand over his coffin, and you know, this open space as you see her in this black dress with this veil, and you see her, you know, her stomach, and this beautiful procession that's happening. I mean, Gilead ain't ish, and I hope it burns to hell, but it was beautiful to see the commanders and then the wives, and you see her go to the handmaids, and then they bow to her as they have this veil over them. I love the costume design. I really loved how they made this funeral look so grand. Here's the part that took me out, y'all. Baby, let me tell you something. So June and Luke, they have the time of their life. I'm like, oh my goodness, finally June is happy. You know, they had their little date, they kiss, just like beautiful kiss that happens in the middle of the street. And then I was like, clearly June just can't be happy, so something crazy finna happen. So I see in this funeral procession, these kids walk up to her and they wearing purple. And then I was like, I know that ain't who I think it is. And I was like, oh my God, the level of petty that you have to have Hannah a part of this procession, to hand her the flowers as Serena kisses Hannah on her forehead. June looked up and she saw Serena raggedy ass, and then when Luke looked up and then they saw Hannah, I said, oh, hell no. Hell no, she got to go. So that happens, and then Serena, they do this close up on Serena. You know the little smirk that normally June be doing at the end of the episode? Serena had the smirk now what, hoe? Okay, I still got your other daughter. She didn't say all of that, but I was just like, it's clear at this point. She knew what she was doing. It is war now. She is not going to let this go. June's not going to let it go. Serena not going to let it go. Ooh, that raggedy beach. I can't believe it. I can't wait to see them duke it out. They both great. They're both equally dangerous, okay? So I don't know what the hell is going to happen. But I really loved how they shot that funeral procession, the montage between Serena and June as the angel and the devil. I just thought that it was so well done. I love the writing in this episode, the dialogue, the banter back and forth. And I forgot the most important part. Janine is sitting up here. So first of all, Esther walked up like she was up to something, okay? She's like, oh, I got some chocolates. I'm like, now, Beach, I ain't eating nothing that you giving me after I watched you poison people last season, okay? So she started handing her this stuff. And then she was like, you know what, when I first met you, I didn't like you. And I was like, oh. And then Janine started laughing. And then she was like, and I still don't. I said, oh, excuse me. And basically she ends up poisoning them, and she's like starts coughing up blood. And Janine was like, what did you do? And then Janine started coughing up blood. She's like, help, and she choking. She got help, and she choking. And then Aunt Lydia comes in, and she was like, what happened? And I said, now Aunt Lydia, you see both of them sitting up here choking on their blood. How they finna talk to you and they choking on their blood? You talking about what happened? Get a damn ambulance, okay? Esther always been about that life. There is not a chance in hell I would ever take something that Esther gave to me. No, absolutely not. No. But I see where Esther's coming from, because she truly felt like Janine betrayed her. Like, you lied to get me to come with you so you can have a chance to be with your daughter again. And now I'm living in hell, and you sitting up here happy with the random glances of Angela that you get. It's not okay. So I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to live? Are they going to die? If they survive, then what the punishment going to be for Esther? I don't know what the heck is going to happen. But Esther will always and forever be about that life, and she is not above poisoning anybody, including herself. But this season's shaping up to be pretty good. I really want to know, what are your thoughts about the first 2 episodes in the season? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what your predictions are going to be between this battle between Serena and June. Let me know what you think is going to happen with Janine and Esther. I would love to know your thoughts. But those are my thoughts on The Handmaid's Tale Season 5, Episode 2, Ballet. As always, my name is SERENA from Payroll Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again, bye.